Welcome to the Midwest Moguls Show, where we talk all things business, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Let's dive into today's episode and make business enjoyable again. Welcome back to the Midwest Moguls Show. We have Nathen Laporte in the studio today, and he is going to tell us a little bit about who he is, what he does, and why he has so much knowledge in his brain. So Nathen, take it away. Take it away. Tell the listeners, the viewers, a little bit about yourself.
Nathen Laporte. I own Refined Construction. Been in the construction industry roughly since I was 14 years old. Started part-time, obviously, during summers after school, and then went on my own when I was about 19. So,
Dang. You go to school at all? Any college or anything like that?
No, I was... I don't even know if it was mentioned around the household. So.
Hey, that's fair. I made it a year. Joe made it a little bit. Well, Joe, you graduated.
Yeah.
Brennan, you graduated.
Yeah, I have 2 useless college degrees, so that's fucking awesome.
So honestly, it doesn't even matter that we went to college.
No, it really doesn't.
Like at this point, it's just a waste of money. Debt. Unnecessary debt. Joe, you have gum in your mouth right now.
No, I got mint.
Okay. I can fucking hear you sucking on the thing in the microphone.
All right.
But yeah. You better chew that
Just
thing or
chew it
whatever you need to do.
Get it done.
But I guess tell us, so like obviously we met, oh my gosh, years ago, probably at this point.
Yeah, probably 9 years ago.
Oh, at least, yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. And so before getting into the construction space, like obviously you were young. What was the reasoning behind going the construction route? Like just experience, or I guess you tell us a
I
little
think
bit.
just the reasoning was just because it was around me. So my grandpa built houses for a living on his own. My uncle builds houses.
Yeah.
And then my dad, he's worked for the same place for 40 some years, building houses and renovating and things like that. So started laying flooring at the beginning when I was 14, and that just started because it was my dad's friend, and we raced dirt bikes as well and rode dirt bikes, and it was kind of a community and somebody that just needed help, and that's kind of how it started. So
And with the construction side of things, like obviously you started off as a laborer and there at the job sites every day. Has it evolved from that, or are you still there swinging the hammer every single day, or what does that normally look like on the
not
day-to-day?
every day. It's kind of tough. I mean, I do both. Like we'll be in the office with my wife Sade. We'll be doing office stuff, and then I'll be in the field, and it just I kind of bounce back and forth, doing a little bit of both. I wouldn't say a little, but a lot of both.
Yeah. Well, it's fair. I was out. Brendan and I were at a house today. I wish we had some photos of. You might have some. Did you do any like Snapchat? Did you save anything on Snapchat?
I did not save it, unfortunately, but I did send it to every group chat I have and a lot of my friends on there.
So
we had a tie down wrapped around me as the anchor.
Oh boy.
And
he was inside the house.
I was inside the house, and Carter was outside with the tie down on his hunting vest.
Oh wow.
So
I had to paint the back because we were on the roof, and the roof was actually fairly steep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I threw a ladder, one of those extendable ladders over the pitch.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I can use that to like walk on when I'm at that part, but when I'm not at that part, it's a little bit sketchy, and I had to paint it because one of our guys he didn't want. It was a fairly steep pitch.
Yeah.
I don't see what all the fuss was, Josh.
Brendan,
was
you
making,
were in the house. Brendan was in his house scrolling on his phone. I'm like, Brendan, grab this. And then he's like,
yeah.
I don't even know what you were doing half the time. But
no, it was
you were,
Rogan.
Yeah, I know you were a good anchor. You were a good anchor. But yeah, with that, it's like you're still, I think regardless of how far you are in the business, sometimes you just, to get things done. And Joe and I were talking about this. I don't even know who was in here. But it's almost necessary to get things finished in a timely manner.
Yeah. And I think it's tough finding quality people, as we all understand. So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
And then also you try to give these guys leverage to do these things, even contractors. But then there's a side of me, because I started when I was young, where I kind of get in there and I'm very nitpicky about certain things. So I have a hard time just letting go and being like, okay, go ahead and get it taken care of. Like we were on a job all morning. I was planning to be there at 10 because I had a ton of office stuff to do, and it's like I was there until 1:30, and then I drove straight here, and I'm like, well, now I just shot myself in the foot because now I'll be in the office all evening. So, but it's just one of those things where it's, you try to, try to learn as you go and try to ease up a little bit, trust your guys. But I mean, honestly, I feel like a lot of people are experiencing it. It's like as soon as you trust them and just let them go, and it's like you turn your head or turn your back, it's like then you'll come in the next day and you'll be like, what the hell happened here? You know, it's like either they didn't get a lot done, or, you know, if I'm nitpicking, I get pretty harsh on certain things.
But that's
rightfully
right.
so, though.
That's
I mean, you're building a house. The structure needs to be pretty sound. The last thing you want is anything to come back on you, and if there's damage or issues with the house. So
and I feel like everybody in business, you got to take pride in what you're doing. And obviously, when I started young, I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do any of this. But you know, I ventured on a few other things, and I didn't like any of it either.
Yeah.
And there was nothing about like freedom with construction, renovating properties, being on your own, things like that. So I always kind of came back to it, and it's just nice taking pride in what you're doing and seeing a finished product, you know.
Well, and with that, like the construction, you see it in some cases, especially on like flip properties, what we're used to, and all of us have experience on that. But you see kind of the worst of the worst. The properties are just terrible, and then you bring them to a completely finished product that's normally pretty nice. It might not be perfect, but fairly nice. And there's some sort of satisfaction that's gained from that. Yeah. But what have you found? And I know all three of us have our own experience dealing with people or subs or contractors or whatever the case might be. When you aren't there watching over the job site every single day, how do you get the point across of like, hey, John, please do this, this, and this? Yeah. And then if they screw something up, or what has that been like for you at least?
I mean, I deal with it. I mean, even with in-house guys, not even subs, you know. It's like you can give a list, and then it's like they'll do A, C, F, G, and you're like, well, I know. What about everything in between?
Correct.
You know? So you just try to handle it the best you can. And with subs, it's, I don't know, we're still kind of learning because I didn't sub a lot of stuff out until the last 3 years. We sub more and more, but we also take on more and more.
Correct.
So just try to navigate it as you go.
It is. I think that's probably the toughest part, like especially with construction. Yeah. And we're kind of, in the last few months, we've decided to probably take our foot off the gas more so on the construction side, to not do such heavy remodels, because it's so time consuming.
Yeah, it sucks. That, and the same issue that you're probably that you're explaining is we have certain like subs and contractors that work on the properties, but then it ends up taking way longer, running a bunch of issues or not doing the work to fully completed. And then we had to go and do it again. So it's like, you know.
Well, even just navigating, just getting bids with subs. Oh, it's like, I think that's one thing why I swing the hammer so much is because I'm just tired of trying to get bids from people. It's like, but then again, it also can hurt us. You know, it's like, well, it's pulling me away from trying to produce more sales or find more properties because I'm swinging the hammer. But then it's like, you know, I mean, we're getting bids even on painting that are varying 10 grand. I know. Yeah. And it's like, you know, are people just like, hey, you know, let's just slap this shit together and be like, okay, this looks like a number I can go. Yeah. Like,
I'll definitely do this job.
And then you don't know quality until, I know. You know, we do ask for referrals. I got that from you. It's like, how do you find your contractors? Correct. You know, we go on these groups, we ask for referrals, we kind of run through the list, and it's like, we don't know the quality until we see it. And then it's like, I don't know. What I've been finding is like, you don't pick the high end, you don't pick the low end, and you try to find something in the middle. Correct. It's like, and you just hope and pray that the first one goes well, and if it goes well, they're on the contractor list, and you just keep lining them up. So,
and it's go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious. So, have you ever like talked with these contractors prior to hiring them, asking like, hey, can I see photos of, you know, a current project you're working on or past projects, just to see what your type of work looks like, what the finishing work and everything?
Yeah, and I always try to ask for photos, but a photo is like, I mean, it's,
you can doctor up a photo.
Oh, I mean, just stand back 3 to 5 feet from the project, and you're like, oh yeah, that looks really good. I mean, I've done it with my own guys. I'm like, send photos, get me photos when you're done. Yep. Send me photos. I walk in there, and the next day I'm like, well,
what the hell?
This like, we need touch up.
Correct.
You know? So it's tough. It's like, you know, what do you do? It's just, I think we're all young at this table, and the best learning curve is just trial and error, and unfortunately we got to go through it. So that's one thing with contractors is you just try them, and I mean, I don't know. We've done a handful of properties now, and I feel like we're just finally starting to set our foot with some contractors. It's like others we're still trying to navigate. So.
When it's like we've had so many different experiences. That's where like Brennan is in the role, at least. So recently, and this might be something that might be valuable to you. So I've been going through this book, and it's called Clockwork, but it's by Mike Michalowicz, and it's basically systemizing and processing the business, and putting people in specific roles that they can run with that role, and not necessarily do all this other miscellaneous shit that's not associated with that. So Brennan, we went through things with Joe, myself, my mom, dad, everyone, just to get on the same page with like, hey, Brennan's responsible when we get the property under contract or we purchase it. Brennan's going to go there. He's going to draw up the scope. He's going to do all these different tasks. That's his responsibility. Then he'll pass the scope along to my dad. My dad's going to contact the contractors, make sure everyone's on time frame, and then he'll be watching over jobs. And then what other additional items was on yours? Because I don't even remember.
Jeez, all right. Put me on the spot. But another thing I do when we do have them are apartment rentals. So it could be any time of the night. Typically, I like to schedule them for Thursday nights, or I found good results on Tuesday nights as well.
Okay.
For apartments, usually around that 5 to 5:30 time frame, or even 6 o'clock. That seems to be about the sweet spot where I've gotten quite a few people to show up.
For like open houses.
Yeah, for
the
open
apartments.
houses.
Yeah.
And the first thing I tell people is, I could want nothing more than everyone who walks through this house to be interested in this property.
Yeah.
And if you are, great. Sign up. I'll get your contact information. You'll get mine. I'll email you guys an application. If not, we still do pen and paper ones. I have no problem with that. I'll wait there as long as they want me to have it all filled out, just so that way I get it right away immediately, so I can start a background check and everything else on them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even the people who aren't interested, too, I mean, I don't want to waste their time by contacting them, and more importantly, my time, because I'm...
Well, in addition to, like, so there's that side of things, but then, like, say we buy a place tomorrow. Like, what are you doing immediately after buying it that might be... like that maybe you could implement in your business just to help kind of facilitate that. So what does kind of the steps look like? Just to explain that.
As soon as we get the keys to the house, Carter will pass them off to me.
Yep.
He'll then say, go in there, see what we need, what all needs to get taken out, and what needs to get rehung, such as drywall, luan, subway tiling, because people still really like subway tiling in bathrooms, kitchens, XYZ. What type of texture we want to do and how many sheets of drywall we're going to need versus so when I get it, I will build a list out of everything we need. And I even developed a sheet too of when I buy a material, what type it is, when I ordered it, when I dropped it off, when it was installed.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have it laid out super crystal clear to everyone. And I mean, I tell everyone, our scope of work is not to insult your intelligence at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
Our scope of work is laid out so simple that anyone who picks it up will have the knowledge to do the job.
Yeah.
So it's just, and that's one thing I've explained to people. It's just, so say if I get a guy who's like, oh, what type of shower trim do you want me to use, for example? Well, it'll be at the job site because one, I made sure of it when I dropped it off. It'll be in the bathroom or in the garage or
somewhere.
what have you, somewhere on the property at the very least, so that way they know. And you can get it installed and let me know when it's done, and I'll go over there and check it off to say, yes, installed this date, and make sure it's all working.
Yeah.
And it's just those little simple things that I found to retweak them. I mean, if you're interested, Nate, I'm more than happy to share the sheet with you and Charday. So
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead. So I was like, I don't even know who's talking.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say and I don't know if you have this like finished or not, Brennan, but I know we had discussed like putting together the phase kind of sheet. Like, okay, this is also like having that basically like nailed up on the wall at the property, like so all the contractors can see. Okay, phase 1, that's where we're in right now. All this stuff needs to get demoed, cleaned out, and then this stuff needs to get prepped and everything. Once that's done, crossed off, now we go to phase 2. Everybody has an idea on what all the tasks are going to be from there. So I can pick and choose and start working on that. And they also have like a timeline on when we are assuming that this needs to be like basically completed by. So then they try or we want to keep them on track basically.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we're for the house flips and the renovation side of things, we're definitely trying to implement that a little bit more because for roofing and siding and doing window replacements, kind of like where our bread and butter is for the last couple of years. For us, it's all kind of basic, and we have we have the crew for roofing, and we have the crew for siding, and we have the crew that for doing windows. It's usually going with siding as well. So, and then we have a gutter crew. So it's so some of that stuff's self-explanatory. But as we got into the house renovations and the flips, that's like the kind of what you guys mentioned. There's a lot more of. It's almost like you got to spend a lot more time on the organization part before you work on the business, and then start working on the business because I feel like once the organization is completed and it's on point with everything, it's like the business is just going to skyrocket. Right. Because there's a lot less, time of trying to, just dick around with you're hopping back and forth, So we're trying to work on that, and it's definitely a hell of a project.
It's so, and that's where, like, kind of like you mentioned, it's like, hey, we finally feel like we're getting to that point. Yeah. But at least on our side, it just seems like, okay, you ramp up the business, then it's basically a shit show. Yeah. And you're an organized shit show, for the lack of a better term. So you're processing with that for whatever, 3, 6, 9 months. Then you're like, okay, we need to come back to the drawing board, figure out what we need to do. And that's where right now, I think with the right people in the right positions, it definitely helps. Yeah. And that's kind of where we are. Like our last 6, 6-8 months. Yeah. For sure 6 months have been like that. It's just been pure chaos, bouncing around like a ping pong ball. Yeah, correct. Because we were like, so we did a couple of those flip properties. We did 3 and they all went really well. And we're like, okay, it's like this, there's something here. It's like, so I'm just sitting there and I'm kind of the leader of everything that's trying to happen. And Sharday is like she's my wife, and she's like, yeah, that's a good idea. No, that's not a good idea. She's kind of like the final decision, but I'm the one that kind of tries to brainstorm a lot of this stuff. And say 6 months ago, I was like, man, this could really be something with the house flips. Correct. And we went full steam ahead, and I kind of paused, refined construction a little bit. And then we had a couple that went bad as well. Yeah. And I was like, well, shit, now what do we do? So, just trying to organize all that, balance it. And then, we kind of circled back, and it's like, well, let's organize the flipping side of things a little bit more, because there's more paperwork. I wouldn't say there's more paperwork, but there's just more fine detail, like you're saying. You got your punch lists and your timelines, and it's like if everybody's not on the same page, it's like, even when I send my guys there to do a demo on the property, and it's like if I don't have the punch list and the demo list put together, it's like I'm going to be getting 5 phone calls in the day that I don't need. And it's like it takes you off the task that you're trying to do.
And for me, it's like it almost gets scaled up. It's like first phone call I'm okay with, second phone call I'm like, what do you want? It's like third phone call. It's like by the 4th or 5th phone call, I'm like, what the hell are you doing calling me? It's like if you can't figure it out, just get the hell out of there.
I know. So it is so, and it's incredible to me, the difference, like from business to business, and they're all generally the same. Yep. But again, you have so many different parts and pieces and moving items that go along with it, and the human component, which is always unpredictable. Yeah. And finding good people and everything like that. But okay, so you've had like a handful of flip experiences so far. Like, what is your mindset been, your thought process been on that? Like, is it something that you want to pursue further? Is the construction business right now a little bit easier to manage and run, or what has that been like for you?
I think the construction side of things, which we should have held up for 2024, because 2020 was, when the world shut down, it was good for construction. Correct. But 21 was great, 22 was great, 23 was great. Every year we just scaled up, and then 24, it's like I kind of took a pause. Yeah. And for us, the construction industry is just the easiest thing to run, because it's already, the wheels are already in motion, and, it's just kind of moving forward. So for us to put like mental effort, I guess you could say, because the residential side of things, as we all probably started in it, it takes a lot, for me, it's a lot more mental work than anything. Like just trying to, brainstorm what needs to happen, come up with the game plans for these punch lists, like taking the time to do all that stuff. Where the construction side of things is it's just already moving, and it's well greased, and you have
momentum.
Yeah, and it's fairly organized. I wouldn't say it's amazing. I'm always looking at other businesses and trying to figure out how they do things better. And so I think for 25, we're just going to kind of keep rolling forward with the refined construction side of things. Instead of pausing it, we're just going to try to keep taking on work, because at a point in time through late winter, through midsummer, I wasn't really taking on any work.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just can't take it on because we're trying to do these house
Correct.
flips. So I think that's what we're going to try to do moving forward, is just keep that moving forward, rolling smoothly, because everybody on the team knows about it and knows the operations of it. And then for the flip side of things, just kind of keep it as a side gig and try to navigate it. But for what the future holds, I don't know if flipping is the answer or building new construction or what it may be. I like working on like nice things.
Yeah.
So we've done a handful of flips, and everybody knows it's like when you get done with a flip, you're like, you could still step back and be like, man, there's some real potential left here.
Yeah.
And for me, like, for the guys, they're like, we're done, and they're, we're high-fiving, like, it's finished up, and I'm looking at this. Even my wife, she's like, nice job, you're done with it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, there's potential left on the table, you know?
I could have done so much better. It's kind of your mentality with it. But
I'm like, it's like if there's just an empty checkbook laying around and you're like, just have at her, I'll be like, dude, I'll turn some dream houses into dream houses.
Yeah.
So,
and on that, so it's like what that even like makes me think is, okay, is new construction really the better opportunity, at least for you? Because you have like a lot of the resources to get to that point. And I don't know, like who knows what the real estate market for is in the future, at least. But if you can put the subs in place, it's like, okay, maybe you build, instead of 5 flips in a year, maybe it's 5 spec homes in a year that are actually like nice quality finished product. It's brand new.
Yeah.
So
and I like working on a clean slate.
Yeah.
And for us, how operations is with the construction side of things, it rolls into new construction a little bit better. And we're really trying to get something, in place for spring of 25 to build our first spec home.
That'd be cool.
Like that's kind of awesome. A full force with everybody. Me and Charday, and then Tyler as well. So we've had a lot of discussion about it. Just over the weekend, we've looked at 5 lots.
Dang.
Just trying to.
So it's like something that's really, really of consideration. Yeah. That's sweet.
Because we don't want to do anything fancy, just a simple ranch for your first one, 1,800 square feet in that ballpark, and just kind of learn and gain the knowledge of it all, and then kind of take it from there. Because for me, it's a little bit easier for that organization, because I can put everything into organization instead of like, I have troubles with the flip properties. It's like, it's like we do have that demo lined up, but it's like as we demo, we run into this problem.
You have so many other issues.
And then I'm like, so I'm pushing these, the drywaller's back, the electrician's back, the plumber's back. I'm like, man, this is a constant headache. And it's like, I'm sure we're going to run into that with new construction, when the plumber's not there and they're delayed, and then we got to push so-and-so back. But I don't know, maybe,
go ahead, Joe.
I'm just kind of curious to kind of touch base with, when it comes to the construction side and everything, why is it that the whole process works smoother than, the flipping side, just kind of focusing on that construction?
I think it's, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But I think it just rolls smoother because I don't have to really mentally think too much.
Correct.
It's like, we're going to do a siding project. I can just be like, I don't even have to put it on pen and paper. I can go to ABC Supply and I can just start putting orders together. It's like when we're doing a flip property, I really got to start putting it on the pen and paper, and I got to start navigating and go room to room and be like, okay, I think I need to do this. I think I need to do this. And then, stuff like that. And then with roofs too, it's super simple for us to navigate it and kind of go from there. And I think, when we build a spec home, it's going to have a whole different ballpark. But for us, it's like I look at our first spec home. I don't have a tight timeline on it. I put it as a 6 to 8 month project. I'm not looking at it as profits. As we were talking about college at the beginning, I look at the construction industry as, we had a couple mistakes on the flip properties, and people are, super negative. And I'm like, well, to be honest, for me, it's just I'm paying for college.
Correct.
Like I went to college, but I'm paying for it right now.
And you're learning.
Yeah.
And that's like, even on, like, say, for example, on the West Bend property. It's like, okay, is it extremely profitable? Maybe not. But is there a lot of stuff that we learned along the way? Of course. Would we?
And it's hard to pass that stuff up.
Correct.
It's
and
like
you're always learning.
And nobody wants to go through it, but it's like,
Correct.
you have to go through it, at least it's your experience, and you're not, we're not sitting and getting told by a professor and then going out in the real world and then trying to navigate it as well. So, there's two ways to look at it. I feel like entrepreneurs will always try to keep a level head and try to see the brighter side of it. If it wasn't for my wife, I probably wouldn't always keep it bright. But, just try to navigate. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I just, like when you were saying like all those different things in the last statement, what I'm thinking is, okay, for me to go to a job site, like the flip side of things, it's like, okay, I know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Now, as Brennan's learning that role, like what we've been doing and what we just did last week is like we're videotaping either myself or my dad walking through the job site. Like what's the actual psychology behind, okay, we're going to do this, we're not going to do this. And with flips, it's like I don't think you can get them perfect.
No.
I'm fully convinced that.
And I don't even like doing,
I
mean, I shouldn't say this on air, but
Yeah.
I don't even like doing renovations that much for customers because it's just,
it's
no matter what the renovation is, unless you're tearing that place down to the
Correct.
studs or removing walls and stuff, it's like we're making it look nice again, but it's not.
you can't
It's
get
not
it.
new.
Yeah.
No.
It's renovated.
Yep.
It's like even our house, I have 3,600 in living.
Yep.
And then
It's a freaking big house.
yeah, and then I think it's 1,200 below grade
yeah.
that's finished. So we're looking at 46 to 4,800 square feet. We renovated the whole thing, and I'm, even right now, I'm like, I'd rather
Correct.
just get out of here and start fresh. I'm
Well,
like, it's all finished.
I know.
But I could still see there's just different areas and layouts and stuff. It's like, well, you can't really change this or do this because it's like, I can't change the footprint of it. So.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's like the new construction side of things. And for a while, and then I'm the type of person I can get fairly easily distracted by certain things. And then like lately we've had a lot of focus, or I've had a lot of focus on like just flipping, wholesaling, specifically just going down that rabbit hole a little bit. But for a while I was like, okay, well, what does the development side of things look like? Like if you started developing single family or multifamily, what are the profit margins? What do people expect to make? And I think there's like with that, I feel like growing a development business is probably easier than growing a large scale flipping operation.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have so many of the unknowns that come up from a 1900s, early 1900s house versus if you're building something today, it's like, okay, well, framing's delayed or
and then
plumbing's delayed.
Yeah. I mean, we've had this discussion in the past, but just dealing with inspectors. It's like which it's like which day of the week are we?
I know.
Are we like? Is there a rule book for that day
I
of
know.
that week? It's like I don't understand what's happening. Like I had an inspector. Yeah, I had an inspector just up in Merrill, and I was like, well, he was really nice. I met him in person. Carter, you might have met him too.
We don't pull permits.
Okay.
Very rare. Well, we do, but it's not all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's like I started emailing them back and forth. Not back and forth. It was a one-way street there, but I sent out some emails and even called him once or twice just because I wanted to see. I'm like, I don't know. And me and my dad aren't partners in the business at all because he'll be at the local bar when it's time to get done with work. And I tried to get his help. Like I had him come help me at the Merrill property, just frame some stuff up and put in a big I-beam just to make sure everything was up to code because he knows. But it took me 3.5 weeks to get him there, and we did it in 25 minutes.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Dude, it's 3.5 weeks of phone calls and trying to get your ass there. And I was also driving up to Merrill. I was on my way up to Merrill 3 separate times, and then he would call me like, I can't today. So
jeez, that's tough.
Yeah, so like trying to manage that, but so I tried to get ahead of the game, and I was like, I'm going to reach out to the inspector, and I'm going to see what we need to do because everywhere is, I swear,
it's so different.
Is getting different.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of for me, it's like if somebody, rubs me a little bit the wrong way, I'm like, oh shit, like, are we dealing with an asshole? Like,
Correct.
is this, I kind of go off the deep end there. Sade keeps it level headed. She's like, whatever, screw the asshole. She just powers through it. But for me, I'm like, that messed up 2.5 weeks of me. Like where I was waking up thinking about this guy. I'm like, I'm working in the Merrill property. I'm like, God damn, that inspector is going to be here. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And it's like, he gets there, he's in and out in 10 minutes. I'm like, sure shit, this fucking asshole ruined 2 weeks and it was fine.
Yeah.
I know. Inspectors that is possibly the worst thing ever. Cause I just think like the Wausau job.
Yeah.
So it's like we're working on that right now. I know what they have for requirements.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, and it's I catch myself like over the last, we've had it for 13 months, so it's not like it's been an overnight thing, but with that, like there's certain times that I'm like, what if they do this or what if they do that? And you're just playing this what if game over and over and over again, which is obviously not good for the mental side of things.
Oh no, it's terrible.
But even with the inspectors, like that one specifically, we're asking them questions like, well, I'm not really sure.
And they don't give you
Correct.
Give
And they don't,
such a gray area. Even meeting with architects.
Yeah.
Like I meet with architects and designers, and I'm like, like I tell everybody right up front, because for one, that I look young.
Yep.
Maybe not today. Who knows?
Yeah.
You don't look judgment call.
Yeah.
But you can feel that, like where people just want to walk, just want to walk all over you, and you're like, oh shit. Like, so I try to tell everybody right up front. I'm like, just so you know, like meeting an architect, I'm like, I have no idea what this includes, like, or the details on it. So like, you tell me what needs to be done. You walk me through it for the architects and the designers, so it can be up to code. And it's like they give you a gray area answer, and you're like, me going out of my way to tell you I don't have a fucking idea what I'm doing on this. Like, that's leaving the door open for you to tell me exactly what needs to be done. And when an inspector or those other two just give you a gray area, you're like, okay, it looks like we're putting it into drive and we're driving right into trial and error. It's like, that's really it. So
it is. And it's so frustrating because we had like in City of Fond du Lac is terrible. That's where.
Oh yeah. God damn.
It's a miserable process to do jobs down there. And I just go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
I don't think
fine.
I'll ever purchase in Fond du Lac again. I'll buy property for whatever that lot's worth. I'll just tear that fucker down.
Yeah, I know. Because it's permitting is terrible. And we've dealt with like so many issues that like you're buying a house, you're improving the neighborhood, you're having licensed people, we're having licensed people do the work. Yeah. So it's done properly.
Yeah.
Then they come in, they start making all these demands, they make us change some stuff. I'm like, okay, this isn't even necessary. And we had, on one of the jobs in Fond du Lac, we had a designer or architect go there, draft up all the load points, everything like that, because we opened up a wall. Yeah. So they're like, okay, we need to see this. The inspector comes, he's like, well, you need footings under here, you need this, this, and this. Yeah. No, we didn't. We didn't need anything. Yeah. So on the architectural drawing said no footings required, no nothing. But they still made us put them in. He's like, well, this is the code. Yeah. I'm like, it's not a fucking brand new house. Yeah. I said, this is a 1960s house that's remodeled.
And I think that's a gray area because you'll get an inspector. It's like you tear off the drywall on that wall, and the inspector's like, well, you didn't touch the studs. You're okay. Yeah. And then you get an inspector. It's like you tore off the drywall. All those studs need to get changed out. You're like, well, which one is it?
Yeah.
You know?
That's the thing is I feel like every inspector has their own way of analyzing issues with the property and everything like that. And I feel like, I guess, what your guys' thoughts of even just having inspectors come in before the work is done?
That's a terrible idea.
I've actually tried. Like,
I was gonna say, or even before you even like start, just asking them like, no, hey, this is like if you have a good relationship, obviously it wouldn't be just anybody. You have to have some sort of.
I actually tried with Merrill. I'm like, can you meet me at the property? I'm like, the place is demoed. Meet me at the property. He's like, nope. Tell me when rough-in's complete. Yeah. And then I called him. I said, hey man, would you mind meeting me at the property so I know what needs to get done up to code? And he's like, just call me when rough-in's done. I'm like, dude. Yeah. Like
you're not helping. Like he's not helping the situation.
I mean, and we're like 4 blocks away from the town hall. Like we're 4 blocks from where they're sitting. I'm like, just
swing over there.
Yeah.
Like
they don't have that much going on that they can't at least meet with you for half hour, 20 minutes at the most and say, yeah. They think they're way more important than they are.
Yeah. I know. It's just like a bigger freaking who's got a bigger dick or what?
Yeah. That's really
like that's where right. Like some of the time, but like where I've just had bad experiences with inspectors. City of Oshkosh seems to be getting a lot better though. Yeah. At least in my opinion. Yeah. But some people or some inspectors, they'll come in from what I've experienced and they have, of course, placed the stop work order on the job if you don't pull permits. Yeah. So we've had that in Fond du Lac twice. And he's like, if you don't pull permits again, we're going to revoke. And I don't even know. Can they revoke a contractor license? Do they have the authority to do that?
I have no idea. I mean, they could probably put a report into the state.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was So
I think the state handles all that.
I think the only way that you can get your contractor's license revoked, and if anyone knows the answer to this in the state of Wisconsin,
just
please,
drop a comment.
Please let
below.
us know. But I think it's only if you commit contractor fraud.
Well,
that would be the only thing that I think that would revoke it.
I don't know.
The criminal side of things.
I know. Well, but on that, like he just said, because we didn't pull permits for 2 jobs in a row. I'm like, well,
it's like, what's the extent to it? It's like, why do we got to pull a permit for just something that takes somebody
light
a half
fixtures?
hour?
Yeah.
It's
like some miscellaneous plumbing work.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
And when homeowners don't have to, but so is it like on your side? Okay, you have the construction experience, you have the flipping experience. Like how do you, like the other component that comes into it is the lead generation side of things, and having conversations with people on that side just to get the deals of sorts. So what has that been like for you of like, hey, we're finding good traction going this route or that route? If
for flip properties or for
anything.
Construction.
Construction. Is it referral based? Is it like what is?
I mean, it's kind of referral based for the construction side of things. I don't do much marketing on that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm even pretty poor on social media.
Yeah.
I feel like we could get quite a bit more business if I also, like, I get so sick of the phone where it's like I don't want to post anything. So, it'd be nice to actually bring on a team member or pay somebody weekly to do like, hey, do whatever the price is, 5 posts a week for the business. But just word of mouth kind of on that side of things. And then for flip properties, I know you guys have good luck with Deal Machine.
Yeah.
Like we've also been we just haven't had any luck with Deal Machine, with cold calling, sending out mailers. We get a handful of calls here and there, but again, that's where it's like you guys are in the real estate game, and it's like I'm in the construction and part-time real estate game.
Yeah.
It's like that's why I refer to you about quite a few of those things, because I'm like, what is actually working? Because for maybe you guys of 1 month in trial and error in the real estate game, it's going to take me a year, because I'm also bouncing around.
You're doing everything.
Yeah, so we've actually, we've been buying deals on market, which is actually really good with us. We look for certain things. I talk with a realtor and just try to navigate it from there. Really, it's like if I see a house sitting on market for a little while, I just kind of go at them with a...
Have those turned out well for you if you buy them on market? Have the profit margins been there?
Yeah, so 2 didn't turn out well. And then all the 3 others have turned out great. So been happy with it.
It's a positive.
Yeah.
3 out of 2. Or 3 out of 5, sorry.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, because it's not like we're lacking effort. It's just that we don't have the resources for that large amount of time to put into Deal Machine to do, and for me, it's like I don't want to just ship out,
correct.
thousands of dollars in mailers, and also trying to keep track of it. Like I said, I feel like a ping pong ball in that area, so I'm freaking... it's like I'll start sending out mailers and I won't check on them. Like I just had Charday last week. I'm like, pause all the mailers because I don't even know what I have going out. Correct. I don't even know what's happening. So it's like, just pause it all because I need to find some time to sit down and look into it because we haven't had many calls on it. And then, I got Tyler. It's like if we work a half day on renovation or construction side of things, he spends his whole afternoon getting as many calls in as he can. Yeah. And that's kind of like a requirement that we set foot. And I make sure Tyler's happy too. Yeah. I don't do a lot of the cold calling on my end as much as I wish I would. It's like I really got to try to navigate like the office work, the planning, the ordering, the scheduling.
And there's so much. And that's where, like, I think at least once you have the focus, and I think it's just like a resource thing. I think we're always so hesitant to take on people, hire people. And even if it's a very small time role, so referencing that book again. So what he had said is we always think that people want to work like part-time is 20 hours a week or full-time 40 hours a week or more. There's a lot of people out there who would be glad to work 10 hours a week or 5 hours a week or whatever it is, just to take like these small subsect of tasks off your plate. Yeah. So then you don't necessarily have to do it
and I think one area why we struggle with that is because our foot isn't all the way on the gas pedal yet. So I'm like, man, we could really use somebody here. Yeah. But my head's only in that game for this short a period of time.
Correct.
So I'm like, you know, and it's kind of goes both ways. Like even in the construction industry, I'm like, I could really use somebody here if we just if we're just wide open with it. But it's like, I'm not wide open with it because I'm also trying to dabble in real estate. So
what if you went wide open in, is that what my life wide open? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
C-Boys, shout out C-Boys.
I didn't notice that.
But with it, what if you went like all in on the construction side of things and then just said, okay, fuck it for house flipping or marketing or wholesale deals or whatever for the next 12 months? Like, do you think with that, like the 12 months or even 18 months, you could scale up to the point of taking yourself out of the main, like the main role that you're currently in, and then even Sade, if she's like, hey, I don't necessarily like doing this that much, can we find a replacement? And then you can get that on autopilot and then switch over the focus. And that's kind of, I say that from our side of, that's what I would like to do right now. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and me and Sade have talked about it quite a bit, and I've talked with Tyler as well, because Tyler's been with us for quite a few years.
Yeah, a long time.
And he's always on time, and he's always showing up to work. And I usually, that's one guy I don't have to think twice about if he's going to be here or not. It's just trying to make the decision, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a little hesitant, but just because I think I really want real estate stuff to pan out. But, as we're flipping properties, I'm learning from the properties, and I'm trying to navigate if that's something that I really enjoy. But I think, again, with trying to get a spec home started in spring of 25, I think that's going to start answering some of the questions I have yet. And I feel like I need to go through a couple more of those trial and error situations to really navigate where I want to go. Because to be honest, I don't just want to be a roofing company and a siding company for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make me extremely happy. It's like, I get to wake up on Monday and it's like, let's do this thing.
Let's go side some houses.
I do like it to an extent, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's, but I don't know. You just try to navigate, right? It's like,
it's no different. I think any business after you've been in for a while and you've seen it over and over again, and it's no different. So Brendan was in law enforcement, and it's like dealing with that for years on end. Like you can kind of attest to the fact that humans aren't always the greatest in those specific scenarios, but
and the way I kind of look at that is just people typically didn't call me when they were having the best day of their life. I mean, it was usually the worst day that anyone could possibly have. I mean, I wasn't getting called to say, hey, I just got a promotion at work. Yeah. Come over and have a barbecue with us. Yeah. So
and that's understandable. I could see that. And I feel like we always look at that as, my operations as business is we're not a couch salesman like for furniture. Like if we submit you an estimate, it's like we're not gonna be calling you back a bunch of times. We're not gonna be pressuring you on site. We're not pulling out an iPad and printing out forms on site. I'm like, we're not, and I feel like that could hurt our business, or it does hurt our business, but it's like, I don't want to take it that far. Because me personally, I walk into a furniture store, or my wife on her crazy days have had contractors come up over to give us prices on stuff. And I'm like, and whoever's pushing us, I'm like, dude, we're leaving, or you got to get out of my house for one, for some of those. So I think that's one thing, we don't ever want to take that push, and, it could hurt our business, and it could make it go, I don't know.
But then there's the part of doing what you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah. And I don't we don't like just taking, it's not all about, and the renovation side of things, it's not just about the dollar amount. Correct. It's like we're trying to keep up right now because overhead costs are so expensive. Correct. It's like, how is overhead so much? It's like even friends, from the outside looking in, they're like, oh, you got to be having so much money. I'm like, dude, our overhead, it's just stupid. Like for us to have one guy on the roof right now, it's like our insurance, golly, just this year, I think it went up another $7,000 or $8,000. And then I was looking at per employee. I'm like, well, let's try to navigate. Let's bring a couple more guys on to ease this stress, so we can keep this navigating well. Yeah, we're talking with our insurance lady. Sade is talking with her, and then she sits me down. She's like, hey, if you want to bring that guy on, because I had a guy picked out. It's like, just so you know, it's going to be another $6,800 for the year. Jeez, I'm like, you're kidding me with workman's comp. I said, and then just our standard business insurance. it's going to be a package of 6,800. And I'm like, what? Why? And she's like, well, if you just keep him as commission based, or he's just selling roofs and he's not getting on the roof, then his insurance, like it's only an extra, I think it was like $800 to bring him on.
See, that's.
I'm like, for him to step on the roof, we're going to be paying an extra
$6,000.
Yeah. And I'm
Holy
like,
crap. See, and that's the side of things that no one realizes.
No.
And like even in a flipping business, like it's like, okay, yeah, you see okay, they bought it for 200,000, they sold it for 400,000.
Yeah.
Well, you had the $100,000 in renovation, you had the 30,000 in holding costs, you had some realtor commissions, you had all these utilities and taxes and everything like that. Like your net on that dollar amount is so much less.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's changed our path a little bit, because I'm like, I would rather worry about the quick turnaround on the cash, the cycle, instead of
you try to think of so I always put it as my time and money.
Yeah, yep.
Like which one is least amount of time, most amount of profits.
Yep.
And it's like it's just a constant navigation of that.
For you guys, what is like is it roofs that are kind of the highest ROI? Is it siding? Is it windows, or are they all pretty
just like exterior
similar?
renovation? Yes, similar. I mean, if you have the right crew,
yeah,
you got to have good crews and high expectations.
Yeah.
And if they turn it around, good, because we've had some of the same crews, and I think you deal with a couple of those guys as well from the Fox Valley here. We've dealt with the same crews for the last 3 to 4 years, and sometimes they'll get a couple new guys on their crew, and they'll send them to our job. And we just had it up in Merrill on that property.
Yeah.
And there's one other big house up in Wausau that we got. That was a full exterior renovation, gated community, and they sent these new guys in. And I'm like, this is a high-end customer.
Yeah.
And you sent these new guys in. And I told him, I looked at him, I said, you want to burn your $100 bills? Because I don't. I said, but right now we're just burning $100 bills. Because they just, that's one thing you got to tiptoe around a little bit. It's just try to make sure that they're sending the good guys. And for us, it's like when they send the good guys and they do the good work, I mean, the exterior renovations is just like clockwork and really good money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and you're able to, like those, especially during the warmer months, like it's like it's easy to turn very, very fast.
Yeah.
Like the conversion cycle on that is days.
Yeah.
Like
and we try to be very respectful with numbers compared to, all these high-end companies are almost 40 to 60% higher on us than us. And it's like, holy cow. I got a story. I'll try to make it quick.
Yeah, you're good.
Sade was dealing with an elderly lady on a roof. Like she had her roof done by, I'm not going to say any names, but a higher end company. They did the roof. The bid was $42,000. The roof leaked on the first rain. And the first rain, she reached out to them. First time, she reached out to them. Second time, third time she reached out, they sent her their attorney's information. Say, we're not sending nobody back to repair it. Here's our attorney's information. So we went in there, submitted our bid, said, insane. Hey, okay, theirs was $42,000. Ours is reasonably priced at $18,000.
Yeah.
And that's tearing off brand new and then putting back on and doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And Charday dealt with this lady for a year and a half, going back and forth with insurance, with an attorney, and with the elderly lady. Yeah. And we're the type of business that's like, what's hurting us financially is we deal with people like that or situations like that, and we didn't collect one penny.
Yeah.
We didn't get the job at the end of a year and a half. We didn't, But that's just kind of can say like how we try to run the operations. We try to keep it fair and try to keep it, we want to be respectful because there's guys.
They don't care.
Yeah. And in the construction industry, the renovation side of things, you got a guy in a pickup truck, and they're promising certain materials, and they're doing it for dirt cheap. And, they're taking advantage of customers that don't question them.
Yep.
And then it's like you get these bigger companies that are just taking advantage because they have, they got 4,000 reviews on Google.
Brand recognition.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I can't even compete.
No, I know.
So.
I mean, most of those reviews are probably bots too.
Oh, yeah.
Else. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of my friends was telling me, so they got a roof put on. This is at least 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was like a 2.5 hour appointment that the person was on, and then they ended up, I thought it was fairly expensive. Roof and gutters on a above grade, maybe 2,200 square foot house.
Okay, so you're probably looking at like 20 square for
probably,
a roof,
but I think it was like 27 or 28,000 to do it. And then I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
So and that's where I'm like, with that, yeah, it was a very, very high end. I shouldn't say high end, but highly recognizable brand name.
And the only reason why I know those numbers is because I do play a little dirty pool. And I have these, when I want to see where numbers are sitting at a certain time, I have these people submit a